So, and now that Scream 7 is here, and now we have another entry, which means it is time for another franchise ranking, and this time it is with Scream, which has been a consistently horror movie franchise. But considering for what I'm about to say, or where I would put this in my ranking, and I think it is definitely been updated. But I'm assured you, like, this ranking has sort of shifted things a little bit, and so yeah, this will be my full ranking of all 7 Scream movies from worst to best. So let's waste any time. Let's get into business. And so, if you're new, then be sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell so it's on any video bits. But now, let's just hop right into it. Coming in last place at number 7 is Scream 7, and even though this is the recently released entry, but rather I say it's an unnecessary movie, and it has the focus on Sidney Prescott. She has a family, a daughter, and everything that she has to protect at all costs when Ghostface returns to target her, and now it's up to her to defeat Ghostface once and for all. But it was so underwhelming. It plays out like a generic slasher. It adds literally nothing to the table, and even though with the ideas and the concepts for how they want to, execute, and you can tell, like, from the plot elements that play throughout the movie, and it adds, nothing. Like, it just kind of feels empty. I mean, Sidney Prescott is the ultimate final girl, but it just felt unnecessary for her to be there. Like, I mean, we kind of moved on from Sidney, but with the way that twists and the kills go down, and I like the clever suspense, and Kevin Williamson definitely gets his time to shine, but I just cannot get over how generic the movie looks, even from the opening minutes to how it wanted to play out. But when it comes to the third act, it's so lame, it's so embarrassing, and it kind of felt like underwhelming, and with the way that it wanted to tie things back in from the earlier entries. But yeah, there's so much things that I can rattle off a nitpick about this movie, but yeah, it is definitely the worst entry, and I can't believe they decided to move forward just with this entry alone. Yeah. At number 6 is Scream 3, and this is probably the weakest one in the franchise. Even after the first 2 movies, this was more of a dreadful watch, and when you have it being taking place in a Hollywood production, and when you have Sidney, who is out of hiding but is in the presence of Ghostface, she is being targeted, and it has a more of like the sign of Sidney trying to gather stuff from her past, and especially with her mother. It was like very clever, but also and it was just bland. But with the kills and some of the elements that go down, I thought it was decent, but by the time it gets to the third act and what the Ghostface reveal is, and I kind of felt like it was solid, a decent watch, but it is clearly the weakest. But even like compared to the recent entry, I'll still give Scream 3 a decent treasure, because it does have some cool elements involved, but even though it takes place in Hollywood with one of the stab movies, but it is still a decent enough entry. At number 5 is Scream 4, and this was a much needed movie, and it came out in the 2010s and 2011. You have Sidney Prescott making her return. We're back at Woodsboro, and she's on a book tour promoting her book about trauma, of course, like for what she has faced in her past when she faced Ghostface. That's what she lives with, and that's what will be impacted with the rest of her life. But when she sees that teens are being targeted and being killed by Ghostface, that she has to confront this new killer, that she has to face her past. And when you have Gail, Dewey, and you have these new characters here with played by Emma Roberts, the introduction of Kirby, played by Hayden Panettiere, and I definitely loved the opening minutes, and with those extras that were appearances from like other famous actors. And yeah, that was definitely cool. Even with the quality that the film layers itself upon, and when it comes to the third act of who the killer reveal was. And yeah, this was, again, a cool enough entry that was a very much an upgrade for what the third entry delivered. And I loved Sidney's presence there, and we got all these Woodsboro elements, and with Ghostface being at its best. But yeah, I definitely like the fourth movie, and I think every character in there and everything else was kind of pretty decent and kind of good. At number 4 is Scream 5, and this is like the perfect legacy sequel that not only brings back Sidney Prescott, Gail Weathers, and Dewey Riley, but you have a new group of characters. And we have the introduction of the Carpenter sisters, played by Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega, and they carried this movie. But for what the new characters bring to the table, I felt invested in them. It has those moments that really stand out. It has brutal kills and just like great moments for what this series is about. And just with like Sidney, like she has that final girl energy, like to really like bring in for how this can be like defeated with Ghostface. And even with the final showdown in the Stu Monker house, it is really badass. And yeah, it has those like just like great moments that really has like a fall in love just with the franchise. And I think it certainly makes callbacks to the original, but this is a legacy sequel done right. And with the Scream 5 or Scream or whatever you want to call it, I'll give this, I mean, it is a really just a great entry. At number 3 is Scream 2, and this was a solid follow-up from the first. And you have Cindy, who is in college, but Ghostface is targeting all of the students. And I'm guessing like from everything that is centered upon like this specific storyline, and I kind of find it to be a good watch. But with the second half going into the third act, it was kind of dreadful, but it ultimately leads to a reveal that immediately connects especially to Sidney's past and involving Billy Loomis. And this was a very second movie, just as when you have every character play along. You have Sidney's boyfriend, and with Gail Weathers and Dewey also as well. They all play like a great role in the second movie, and it has everything. But it was just like missing that feel. But again, I found it to be pretty solid. At number 2 is Scream 6, and I can say this much: this is probably my favorite and probably the best entry that this franchise has delivered. And it's been taking place in New York City, and it has the most brutal kills. And Ghostface is definitely upgraded, even enough to rock a shotgun, and it's definitely the most creative it has ever been. It comes up with new, creative, and clever ideas to outdo another. And yeah, this one I will always look back on. And we have the return of Kirby, and trying to figure out like the mystery of like who had done it. And yeah, I think this is what screams like a Scream movie. And when the third act confrontation just goes down, and with the Carpenter sisters, they are totally a badass of the way that they handle what the reveal actually is. But this is probably my favorite, and it totally like stands out to me. And even after Scream 5, this one maybe felt invested in the Carpenter sisters even more. And just from like the opening kill to how the rest of it goes down, leading up to the third act. And wow, this is what made me really fell in love with it. And it's just a great entry, but it's sad that we won't get to see these characters like moving forward. But yeah, it is a great entry that really stands out in this series alone. But coming at number 1 is Scream, and I will always look back on the original because it changed the horror genre forever. And for what Wes Craven brought to the table, and this really great concept on a whodunit slasher, and it introduced not only Ghostface, and I'm pretty sure that this is what made me and what made everyone fall in love with the genre and what we love about horror. But with Sidney Prescott being introduced, and she really serves as that main character and trying to target the killer. And I think it's one of the reasons why we all love Matthew Lillard, who is the king of this genre, and also with Billy Loomis. and it kind of like a pokes fun and makes references to other pop culture movies, and yeah, it is a very classic in my book, and especially the opening kill will always remain iconic, and this is the entry that started it all. I mean, none of us would be fall in love with horror if it wasn't for this movie, and I'll always adore Scream, and Wes Craven is such a legend. I'm glad that he crafted this movie, and yeah, it will always be the best entry ever, and it will always be the best slasher movie of all time. And so there you have it. This is my ranking, or should I say my updated ranking for the Scream franchise now with the 7th entry that is out. And I think the more I lean on this franchise, it is my favorite horror franchise that has been consistent. I generally love this series. Sidney Prescott will always remain as the final girl, and Ghostface is my favorite horror movie character, and yeah, that's all I have to say. But that's gonna do it for this video. Just let me know in the comments down below, and how would you rank the Scream franchise from worst to best, and yeah, give me your best ranking, but let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like the video, and subscribe to know keep up with your videos. Also follow all my social medias, all linked down below, and with that, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.